The question of what is AI is kind of loaded. AI is a large umbrella covering a lot of different areas, and I think it's best to differentiate the different types of AI, maybe. So in general, artificial intelligence is kind of used wrong, because that implies that it can reason and make decisions and things like that, which isn't necessarily happening yet. It's more akin to machine learning, that we've trained machines, and the learning isn't exactly the same as a human reasoning and learning. Imagine a visual processing algorithm. So you have a camera and a computer, and you show it pictures of things, and you want it to identify them. So the machine learning is you take pictures, you show it of animals, cats and dogs and all these different things, and you offer it rewards through the programming when it gets them correct. And you do this over and over and over until it can correctly identify something, and then you can show it pictures of things it has never seen, and it will identify them with a reasonable accuracy. That is machine learning. When we get into LLMs, large language models, that is the ChatGPT and the other things out there that Google has and all these different companies that are in competition with each other, they did something similar, but instead of pictures, they've taken text, websites, books, scripts, things people have posted on the internet, just as much text data as they can, and they put it through this algorithm, and each company's algorithm is different because they're all trying to compete and come up with the best one. And then you prompt it with something and it spits out an answer. Well, it's not really thinking at all. It's more taking your question and comparing it to all of the text it has ever been programmed on, or trained on rather. And then it spits out an answer that sounds right, but it's not quite what people might expect. You might think that it comes up with good ideas or will answer something in a new way, but it can't quite do that. It can't do anything new. It's only going to regurgitate something that it is familiar with. You could ask it to come up with a new recipe, and it's going to look at all the recipes that it knows data on and the ingredients you're asking for, and maybe spit out something that might be good. But if you ask it to make toothpaste casserole, it's going to have a hard time doing that because nobody has ever made that. I hope not. And it can't reason to think about what would make that a good recipe. It's just going to think of something that sounds like a good recipe, but isn't. It's also overly positive and affirming, which is probably the danger of LLMs currently, that almost anything you ask it, it's going to reaffirm and confirm that you're correct. And that's not what people need when they look to LLMs to confirm their biases, whichever word is correct. Really, it should challenge somebody, but that would hurt customers, and the LLM designers don't want that. They want to make money, so they want to sell a general product that can appeal to as many people as possible and make them feel good about whatever they're asking. There's nothing inherently good or bad. It's just a machine pumping out text that is fluent and makes sense on a structural, grammatical, and flowing basis, but it doesn't comprehend the content of what it is generating. That is where a true artificial general intelligence would come in, that it would make sense of what it's saying and reason, but we don't have that yet. We have a friendly bot that is going to agree with whatever you say, unless it's been programmed not to, in those kind of extreme cases of self-harm and weapons and things that are would not go well for shareholders. Things that would be unfavorable, which seems to be about the only limit. But overall, they're a work in progress, and they are getting better and better, but I'm not sure if that is a good thing. If they're actually improving or hitting a wall of ability, because now the internet is getting filled with data from AI, and if that data is being used to train AI, now it's a cyclical process, and you don't have good quality inputs, so you're diluting everything. It's really kind of a conundrum. While there are a lot of dangers, there are some benefits, like brainstorming, taking something and summarizing it, making some work easier, but I'm afraid that it's going to take the fun human work out of the equation instead of doing the boring, tedious work that would be beneficial. So the human things of writing songs and poems and making art are getting taken over by AI, which is ironic and kind of sad. Oh, and it's also driving the cost of electronics up by funneling all of the resources into the chips and RAM and components to make it up, because all these companies are in an arms race to produce the best models, so they need as much computer power as possible. This is kind of a rabbit hole going into data centers and power usage and then even water usage, which I'm sure people have heard about. At this point, is AI even helping? We shall see.